I'm Batya Medad. I must say that for me, the fact that Shifra Shomron, as a teenager, wrote Grains of Sand was just an amazing feat. If an adult had done it, it would be amazing, but the thought that an adolescent was able to get behind the most traumatic event in her young life and turn it into a fictionalized historic novel was tremendous. The book brings a true picture of how it's easy to imagine someone would feel. Shifra, in how she wrote her book, is also dealing with a lot of people. She managed to create characters in the book who are totally realistic. Whether it's the high school girl, her brother, or her parents and neighbors, I have no doubt that they typify real people. I couldn't say who they are. They're probably great combinations, but when you read the book, you get the feeling that you know of the people who lost their homes, their jobs, their lives, and had to rebuild from scratch. I'm just waiting to see what Shifra's going to write next.
My name is Abigail Leichman. We lived in New Jersey during the expulsion, and we felt very connected to what was going on because we had relatives who lived there. We all wore the orange bracelets, and two of my kids were actually there during that time. One tried to get in during the expulsion, and one actually was in Neve Dekalim with relatives for a little while. So as I said, we felt very connected, but we did not have a really first-hand account of what was going on, especially from the eyes of a young person, until I read Shifra's book. And Shifra's book really made us understand what it was like from the perspective of someone who had grown up in Neve Dekalim, not in a hysterical kind of way, but in a very poignant kind of way, where she made it very clear what everyday life was like before all the trouble had started. And then she took the reader through what it was like beyond the first inkling that something was going to happen, and how they tried to keep their lives as ordinary as possible. And so, being very interested in the topic to begin with, it was very wonderful for me to read Shifra's account of what it had been like in Neve Dekalim during those very difficult days. And beyond that, what I took from it was the very hopeful message that she gave there. Although it was a very depressing topic, and it was a very traumatic and terrible experience, and continues to be for all our families, she managed to give a message in the book that it was a very inspirational experience for her as well, to be involved in the future in what happens in the country of Israel, and to have a voice in what happens in the future. So that when we made Aliyah in 2007, there was very much in the forefront of my mind that one person's voice can make a difference. And I also felt that Shifra gave a way for young people to understand what was happening in those times. And I think that's very important as well. I believe that her book needs to be read not just by young people in Israel, but also by young people all over the world, to understand what it's like beyond CNN headlines to be kicked out of your home by your own government. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
In 2005, the government of Israel expelled 8,000 citizens from Gush Katic. Grains of Sand by Shifra Shomron is an historical novel of life in Gush Katic before its destruction. I read this novel with great interest both as a Jew and a recent immigrant to Israel. A mood of anxiety and menace runs throughout Grains of Sand. The main characters endure Arab terrorism on the one side and the specter of expulsion on the other. Despite this bombardment, there is also much joy and love in these pages. These Israelis wish only to preserve their communities in accordance with justice and Torah. They did not succeed. We know how Grains of Sand will end, but we do not read this novel to see mysteries revealed. We read it to see the beauty of what was and the hope of what will be again.
So I was told a lot of times that I needed to read Grains of Sand, but I didn't want to because I was also told it was a diary, and I hate reading diaries. Except that my husband bought it for me for a present, so I had to read it. What could I do? Shalom Bayit. And I was very pleasantly surprised. It's well written, and while it's her diary, it's written in novel form as though it's someone else's diary, so you don't feel like a peeping Tom or like you're eavesdropping. And I remember how we couldn't believe it was actually going to happen. And, yeah. Tough memories. Tough memories.
ממשיך והולך באותו